The British Prime Minister is just hours from heading to Brussels, where she's expected to get the seal of approval from European leaders for her draft Brexit deal. But it's back home where Theresa May is facing her toughest battle, with potential chaos brewing if she fails to get her plan to leave Europe through Parliament. Michael Best reports.
The handshakes mask a brutal diplomatic game where the language is frank.
We have the divorce papers on the table. 45 years of difficult marriage are coming to an end.
Theresa May's avoided her party's knives for now, spending the last week frantically selling her deal with Europe to leave the EU.
The package of a deal that we are negotiating with the European Union has two parts to it. There's the leaving part, which is the withdrawal agreement, and there's the future relationship, which is what is currently continuing to be negotiated with the European Union. They go together as a package.
The draft agreement means Britain would abide by EU customs and regulations until at least the end of 2020. After that, it can negotiate its own trade deals and take back control of its money, borders, laws and even fisheries, while maintaining close ties with European regulations. Realistically though, even if it is approved by European leaders, the deal is far from done. Theresa May is committed to putting it to a so-called meaningful vote in British Parliament.
The Prime Minister!
The numbers are clear. At the moment, there's little chance of it getting through. Mrs May's minority government commands 326 of the 650-seat House of Commons. She needs 320 votes for the deal to pass. 10 members of her coalition colleagues in the Democratic Unionist Party are out.
Well, look, it's a very bad deal, and the extra regulation, the extra cost that's going to come for business and indeed for consumers into Northern Ireland is very bad.
That leaves 316. There are an estimated 58 more hardline Eurosceptics in Mrs May's Tory party who don't think the deal leaves Britain with enough independence. People like the former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg.
We have a government led by Remainers that want to keep us tied in to the European Union as tightly as possible.
And then there's another 14 or so Tories who don't want to leave at all. The Prime Minister might pick up about 15 votes from Labour rebels, but still, that's around 259 votes for Mrs May's deal, more than 60 short.
What we've seen so far is just not acceptable to us, and it's not acceptable in Parliament.
The opposition may be for different reasons, but the expected outcome is the same. Deal becomes no deal. Just one look and it's clear where this is, the White Cliffs of Dover. France is just over 30 kilometres across the English Channel, and this port is Britain's link to the continent. If there's no deal, this is where the chaos is expected to begin. The statistics are staggering. 2.6 million trucks passed through the port last year, another 1.6 million through the nearby Channel Tunnel. That's more than 11,500 vehicles full of goods a day. Now, they roll straight off boats and trains, but no deal means they'd have to be stopped and undergo customs checks. The highway could become a car park that stretches for tens of kilometres. Big companies are anticipating the worst.
Really, it's going to be straightforward and simple if the deal lands. If the deal doesn't land, there's going to be some problems.
Already, hospitals are preparing to stockpile medicines. Food giants like Cadbury are hoarding ingredients. The army is even drawing up deployment plans to keep order on the streets. They're all worst-case scenarios, but they're all on the table.
Lots of people believe Brexit will be good in the long term. Lots of people don't. What they don't know right now is, will companies cease hiring? Will they cease to invest? Will there be a wobble in the UK economy in the short term?
Mrs May's plan seems to be a game of high-stakes brinkmanship. Keep pushing until the Parliament caves.
The deal as scoped is dead. What the hopes are is they can add addendums and so explain a clauses to the original meaning, to the original withdrawal agreement, and make clear what words mean, and that might carry the day.
Labour,
Jeremy Corbyn,
is at least saying that's a chance.
There may well be changes, so we'll look at those in detail and we'll be responsible about that. If there aren't significant changes, which offers us some elements of permanency and assurance to the economy overall, we'll vote against. And we'll see how many times we bring back.
The other options are a Brexit delay, another general election, or a second referendum, asking people whether they approve the final deal.
We're leaving on March 29th, 2019. Not a lot of time for a people's vote. which is what people want on the second deal, or even maybe an election in February. Again, a bit tight.
For nearly 2 years, Steve Bray has been at Westminster, yelling at politicians. He's hoping he's about to be listened to. Do you think you'll have a people's vote?
Absolutely. I seriously now see it in contention. We are going to get a people's vote, and we will have the say on this. Brexit is a disaster for this nation. We're going to have decades of decline.
In the Brexit game, though, the only thing certain is uncertainty.
I know you're used to all sorts of upset and upheaval in Australian politics, which we watch from afar. Looks fantastic fun, but here it seems very serious. There's a lot of risk at play. What's going to happen? I don't know.
He's not alone. Michael Best, NBN News.
Motorbike and moped muggers wreaking havoc across the UK with a spate of robberies have been put on notice by police. Officers have been trained to ram the thieves carefully but deliberately causing crashes to arrest them. The tough new tactics have already seen a 40% drop in attacks in London. Steph Curry is used to some big clashes on the basketball court, but the NBA star has been caught up in a serious fender bender on a Californian highway. The driver of a silver Lexus lost control in the wet and smashed into Curry's Porsche. The basketballer wasn't injured, even posing for photos with police. There's also been a surprise inside a 90-year-old shipwreck discovered at the bottom of Lake Huron near Canada. The steamship sank almost a century ago but has been well preserved, minus a few barnacles. Inside the wreckage, a 1927 Chevrolet Coupe, which will now be brought back to the surface and displayed in a museum. It might just be the most exclusive real estate in the world. Towering new buildings where a one-bedroom apartment starts at $4 million. Only the wealthiest people can afford to live in the new multi-billion-dollar skyscrapers, changing the famous New York skyline.
New York City is growing up. Under construction is a whole street of skyscrapers that tower over New York's Central Park.
Why not live in a palace in the sky with the best possible views?
It's called Billionaires Row, and it starts with 432 Park Avenue. At 472 metres, it's the tallest residential building in the world. On completion, its neighbour, 111 West 57th Street, will be the skinniest skyscraper in the city. While at the ultra-luxurious 157 development, one-bedroom apartments start at $4 million.
What you're getting right out the gate before you even bring in your interior designer is something that most people would only dream of. You know, hardwood floors and custom kitchens and the best materials you can possibly imagine.
What makes the real estate here so expensive is the location. Most of the apartments look down on Central Park, arguably the most famous part of the most famous city in the world. But the numbers are truly eye-watering. Recently, a two-floor penthouse at the 157 building sold for $130 million. It's the most amount of money ever paid for a residence in New York, and it's likely that that will be broken. The New York skyline has changed rapidly over the years. In 1902, there wasn't much beyond a dozen stories. But from the 1920s, things shot up with the Empire State Building. There's pre-9/11 to post-9/11. And this is a peek, a decade into the future.
New York is the capital of capitalism, and the high-rises really bespeak that energy of business and kind of new world opportunity.
It's the ultimate skyscraper city, and New York is only getting taller and taller. Peter Stefanovic, NBN News.
It's over to sport now with Kate Haberfield. And Kate, an amazing finish to race one of the Newcastle 500.
Sure was. Came down to the last corners. Thanks, Jane. Coming up after the break, Shane Van Gisbergen's thrilling win over title rival Scott McLaughlin. And no early move to the bunnies for Wayne Bennett.
Hungry Mac's new 5 for $5.95 Super Stunner. Get a crispy hash brown cheeseburger, small thick cut chips, 3 golden nuggets, a small Coke, and a drumstick mini. The 5 for $5.95 Super Stunner. Only at Hungry Jack's.
Domain's 5-day mega weekend sale with a mega 60 months interest free. 20 to 60% off fabric and leather lounges, dining, outdoor furniture and umbrellas. 20 to 60% off bedroom furniture, kids bedroom furniture in Manchester. Hurry, Domain's mega sale ends Monday.
Get standard multifocal lenses free when you select a style from $149 or above. Only at Specsavers.
Attention, bedheads. Attention, bedheads.
I wonder if that got them off.
I wonder where I can get another one.
I wonder if the neighbours like my music.
The Google Pixel 3 on a red plan for just $65.30 a month. Plus add any of these Google devices interest-free over 36 months.
Is it any wonder it's from Vodafone? I wonder if...
Good night.
Domain's 5-day mega weekend sale with a mega 60 months interest free. 20 to 60% off fabric and leather lounges, dining, outdoor furniture and umbrellas. 20 to 60% off bedroom furniture, kids bedroom furniture in Manchester. Hurry, Domain's mega sale ends Monday.
From the filmmakers of The Lord of the Rings comes a groundbreaking new saga. After the war, resources ran out. Cities were put on wheels. Earth became a hunting ground.
We have to stop London before it destroys us.
You want to die?
I'm gonna live.
Do it! Mortal Engines.
What does Fanta taste like? Fanta, taste it and sense the awesome.
Norco's fresh, delicious milk just got even better. Introducing our finest range. High in cream, protein and taste, and 100% Aussie farmer owned.
On you, girls.
Domain's 5-day mega weekend sale with a mega 60 months interest free. 20 to 60% off fabric and leather lounges, dining, outdoor furniture and umbrellas. 20 to 60% off bedroom furniture, kids bedroom furniture in Manchester. Hurry, Domain's mega sale ends Monday.
And then it just flies over like a bird of prey. Too powerful for TV, but not to own. The new Amarok V6 Core from only $50,990 drive away.